Today we're going to talk about all the different ways I store my baits, both in the garage when I'm not fishing, as well as in the boat, or if I'm fishing from the bank, or as a co-angler. This is every way that I go ahead and store my tackle. Thank you for watching this, and like I said in the intro, every way I store my tackle, I use a bunch of different ways, a bunch of different brands, breaks down depending on, again, if I'm fishing from the bank, as a co-angler, as a boater, or if I'm just storing it here in my garage. I have a bunch of different ways, a bunch of different techniques. So let's go ahead and get jumped into it and see how I break this stuff down. The first thing I want to get into is how I store my terminal tackle. I have two different boxes I use. One of them I use specifically here when I'm in the garage. The other one is when I'm actually out fishing. So the first one here is the Cal Coast Fishing. It is the Battle Box. I've had this since they came out. If you're not too familiar with it, it is a little bit smaller than a 3700, and it's quite a bit deeper. But the reason that makes this thing so unique is when you open it up, it has a bunch of different canisters in it, and then you can label each canister with what's in them. So that way, when you're on the water, you can just take the canister out and put this in your pocket. I like using this when I'm fishing from the bank because I will take just the 1 or 2 canisters that I need or that I know I'm going to be using when I'm bank fishing. Just throw those in my backpack or throw those in my pocket, and then I don't have to carry something big and bulky around. It also has a special hook container. This container currently is completely empty. Just want to show you what they look like. You get these canisters, and again, you can just label the tops of them with what they are. The set itself comes with everything here. Again, it's a great thing when I'm out bank fishing, or even if I'm out going like a co-angler, because I'll just put the hooks that I need in just one of these containers and then throw them in my pocket. The second one I use, and I use this 99.99% of the time, is the Plano Edge Terminal Tackle Container. So if you haven't seen these yet, it does have the one latch, like as all Plano Edges have. In the top here, you can take off the door and see that I actually have all my tungsten weights in there. And each individual one's container is labeled, so it's a 3/8 to a ½ ounce, 3/4 to an ounce, and then these are just all my 1/4 ounces. I fish a lot of 1/4 ounce baits just because I don't fish real deep. Just not something I do. I'm a really big shallow fisherman. So a lot of 1/4 ounce and a lot of 3/8 is what I use mostly, so that's what's filled. Also, they come with these other clear doors, and the clear doors, you can see the hooks in them, and it also has a lid so that once the hooks are in there, they stay in there until you need them. These are great for when you're fishing in your boat because you can just put these in your storage compartment, and with the waterproof seal, as well as the labels, the front label here letting you know it's terminal, as well as having each individual compartment has its own lid, you don't have to worry about all of it getting shifted around and moved in different places in your tackle box that you didn't want it to be in. I've been using this for about 2 years now, and I've yet to have any issues with this container whatsoever. All right, the next one I want to talk about is how I keep my wire baits. Wire baits specifically is just in this Flambeau Spinnerbait Box. So I don't use these quite often, so I don't have quite a lot of them, so it works perfect because I can hold 22 spinnerbaits in there. It's compact. It's taller, not being as wide. It's really easy to put this anywhere. I can throw this in my backpack. I can throw this in my tackle box if I'm going to be a co-angler. It fits right in the compartments on my boat. I like this. I know a lot of people switch over to like the Plano or the Flambeau spinnerbaits where it lays flat just like in a normal 3700. I have about this maybe 3/4 of the way filled up. There's about 15 spinnerbaits in here. So this works perfect for me. I don't have to take up a spot of a 3700. I can just sit this off to the side or sit this somewhere else, and it works perfect for me. The next thing I use when I organize my tackle are these bait chambers by 6 Cents. I absolutely love these. If you use 6 Cents bait, these are a must-have for your boat or your tackle organization. These things are absolutely phenomenal. Let me get one open for you. So this one is specifically shallow cranks. So this is your square bill crankbait box. And again, it just opens up. And then once you open them, they are all nice in their own individual foam cases. And just so I know there's going to be questions, I had questions as well And I will show you, I'm sure you can tell, these are not all crushed 50s. I have some KVDs in here. I have some Academy H2O Expresses in here. Some custom made cranks that I've had painted for me. So as long as it's a 1.5 size crankbait, it'll fit in here. Again, makes this thing really, really versatile. The way that I have mine currently set up is all of them on this side are silent. All of them on this side have rattles. Living here in northern Ohio, really close to southern Michigan, we fish a lot of clear lakes. Silent ones are what gets used a lot in my area. If I ever do end up fishing a dirtier water, I like having the rattles there for me. This little guy here, this is specifically for the trace. And from everything that I've tested, the only thing that will fit in here are the trace swim baits, which is fine for me because when I'm looking at swim baits, the trace is actually the only swim bait that I like and I use. So you can hold 4 swim baits, and then each one of these containers can hold 2 of the replacement tails for the trace. So you can have 4 swim baits and 4 tails all right there. Easy to access, grab, switch, tie on, swap out tails. It really is an efficient time saver. And then the last one I have is for medium crankbaits, and I'll tell you, out of all of them, this one is my least favorite. And the only reason it's my least favorite is because the type of baits that it holds, I don't normally fish. So as you can see here, I only have 4 baits in them. The rest of it's pretty empty. Reason being is this is for any type of round bill bait that runs less than 10 feet. So we have the Strike King Model Series 3 in here. That's what that one is as well. That's a custom one that only dives to 6 feet. This one I believe is a Norman. Again, only dives to 6 feet. So if you're using baits that are only diving in that 6 to 8 foot range, this will fit them perfect. The only reason I purchased this one was because I contacted 6 Sense and said that I had a bunch of their Cloud9 C10s and C15s and asked if it would fit in here. They told me it would. So we bought them and they don't fit at all. I've tried the C10s, the C15s. I've tried 5XDs. I've also tried the 13 Fishing Troll Hunter that dives to 15, as well as the Genco CB15s and the CB10s. Nothing fits in here. So anything that dives deeper than a 10 foot is not going to fit in this case, just so that you know that. Moving on, just like everybody else that fishes any type of fishing, I use the basic 3700 size Pro Latch systems. I use the Lure Lock. I have the Ozark Trail, which is a Walmart brand. These two are Flambeau. Over on the bait shelf, I also have some that are obviously the Planos. I do have these. I don't necessarily use these a lot for when I'm out fishing. I use them mostly for at-home storage. Looking at this one, this is that Ozark Trail one. This one has all of my 2.5 square bills. I don't think I've thrown a 2.5 square bill in 3 years. It's not something that I typically throw. So if it is something that I think I do need on the water, I'll take this whole thing and I'll take it with me. But this lure lock here, flip it around. This has all of my spare 1.5 square bills. So these are square bills that I just have. They're out of the box, so I leave them in this. And then this just sits on my shelf with all my extra baits. This never goes with me anywhere. What I do with that is if that bait chamber from 6 Sense, if that ever loses a bait, I'll just come in here and grab one out of here and put it in the bait chamber and then move on. Other than that, this doesn't leave the garage at all. Something new I'm trying for 2024 is putting my plastic baits in a 3700. So this one here, these are just all my drop shot baits. I have some crosstail shads from Jackall. I have some drop shot baits that I pour myself. Really cool baits. I have plasma tails. I have robo worms. And then I have some worms, drop shot worms by Big Bites Baits. So this is everything that I throw when it comes to the drop shot. So instead of keeping 10 or 15 packs, I actually have moved them into the to the plastic storage bin to see how it works. There's a lot of mixed reviews. I hear that they dry the baits out. I hear that they lose their scent. I hear this, that, or the other. I hear people that swear by putting all their baits in here. I never had before. I've always been someone that just takes my plastic bags and throws them in wherever I'm fishing, whether it's my backpack, my coangler pack, or on the boat, and just open the pack and go from there. I think this way, though, will make it a little bit easier for me, a little bit more organized. I haven't done it yet, but I have a label maker so I can put on here drop shot baits, and I'll put it on the side too. So that way, when I need it, I know I can just pull this out. It'll have all my drop shot baits on there. In theory, this seems like it's going to work much better than just having all of the bags with me. Typically, I would put them in a Ziploc bag and then label on the Ziploc bag what is in there. But I think this is going to be a little bit more efficient. All right, and last but not least, my number one all-time favorite way of storing baits are the Plano Edges. So these are not, so this one here, this is just the normal Plano Edge master small crankbait box, I think they call it. I know they have an Edge Flex that's a little bit different, but I absolutely love these boxes for what I use them for. I love having the labels on them. So as you can see here, I have flat-sided and lipless. And here, this is just my swim jigs and chatterbaits. And then this one is jerk baits. I also have one that's specifically dedicated to all of my jigs. I also have one dedicated to your top waters. When I say top water, I mean like your spooks and your walk the dog techniques. But these right here is my all-time favorites. It's just being $50 compared to $3 for a regular Flambeau. It can get expensive. So it's something that I'm slowly moving over to, but 90% of my hard baits are in some type of a Plano Edge. If they're not in a Plano Edge, they're those bait chambers that we've seen earlier in the video. So again, why I love my Plano Edges, it's just a one-handed design, and now you can open it up. And these ones, like I said, these are lipless crankbaits, and these are flat-sided crankbaits. Specifically in here, I have a 3/8 ounce, and then I also have, oh, where's it at? Here we go. I also have 1/2 ounce lipless crankbait. It holds them perfect. I know a lot of people complained with these cases that from moving around in a boat, shaking, just getting shooken around, that your lipless crankbaits would come out and move. I've never had that problem. They've all sat there perfectly for me. The way that I have them set up is I don't push them in as deep as they go. You can kind of see it here on these flat-sided. They kind of sit up at an angle, and the reason I do that is when I go to close the lid itself actually pushes down on the baits and keeps them stationary where they need to go. So it's not something that I have to worry about them getting up and moving side to side or getting tangled with other people. Again, or getting tangled with other baits. Again, it has the rubber gasket on it, 100% waterproof. It has the label on the front, so I know exactly which one I need to grab. They're just absolutely perfect for me. They're very efficient. I can organize them great. As you can see here, I have some 6 cents flat-sided. I have some Spros in here. I have some custom painted ones that I've had somebody make up for me. And usually for me, I'm going to throw a lipless crankbait and I'm going to throw a flat-sided crankbait, usually almost in the same scenario. So having both of them in one box, again, just makes it easier for me. And then this is the jig box itself. So if you haven't seen the jig box, again, it's just that one-handed latch design. And it's got the openings here. And what you do is you just put the skirt collar down into these slots and it holds them perfectly still. I've not had one ever come out of here. I've not ever had one fall. I've heard some people talk about if you use a hand-tied skirt that it's too thin. All of these baits are hand-tied skirts. I don't use rubber collar skirts, and I don't have a problem with any of them sticking in there. So again, not an issue that I've seen. If, you know, depending on the types of jigs you use, if the skirt tie is really small, you may have an issue in there. But like I said, with the crankbait one, is once you close that lid, it actually puts pressure on those yellow fingers. So if you do have one that's moving, it's just going to move up and down. It's not going to come off of the out of the slot that you put it in and move around. It's still going to sit there, it's just going to kind of move up and down, so it won't be as secure. The last one here is my jerkbait one. The jerkbait one is set up just like my topwater one, so I'm just going to show you one for the sake of not boring you with everything. So again, you got the front label, it's a jerkbait, the one-handed open design. You have the rubber gasket here that keeps it watertight and water sealed, and again, you can fit quite a bit of jerkbaits in there. I have a 90 jerkbait all the way up to 110s. They all fit perfectly. I got Mega Bass in here, Rapalas in here. I got some custom painted ones in here. So any type of jerkbait you have will fit in here. And just like with the hard crankbait, I have them angled up so the tops are sitting up and the bottoms are deeper in there, so that when I close that box, the lid itself puts pressure to push it down and keep them in place. I absolutely love these because I don't have to worry about the hooks getting tangled together. I don't have to spend the time taking the hook bonnet off of them if I'm using like a Plano. It already has the built-in label system on there, so when I put them in the boat and stand them up like this, I can perfectly see them. If I'm fishing coangler, I just stick these in my coangler bag, and again, it sits like this, so I have the label so I know what I'm grabbing, and allows me to carry more stuff in a more compact way. All right, guys, I hope you found this educational. I hope it taught you something. I hope you learned a different way to organize your baits that you may not have thought about in the past. Hopefully it sheds some light on some products like the Plano Edge or the bait chambers that you were curious about but you weren't quite sure how they would work. I'm always open to criticism, and I'm always open to learning something new. So if you store your baits differently than the way I do, please don't be afraid to leave that in the comments. I really want to hear that, because maybe I'll take the way that you store baits to make it a little bit more efficient than the way I do. Please, if you like this video, please hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more content about my fishing journey as we get this channel launched, please go ahead and subscribe. Thanks, guys.